Don't linger there. I have to change my thoughts. I have to say a little prayer.
Or you're going to be crying in the fetal position behind the meat.
Yeah. They'll find me back in the meat cooler.
Cried. You stopped loving me today. Yeah. Welcome to episode 287 of the Nacho Kids podcast.
What's happening?
Y'all, David and I both have some kind of cold. So we're going to make this brief so you don't have to hear us hack.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This interview is with Laura Petherbridge, and we started talking about self-care during the holidays, lowering your stress in the holidays. And one of the things that we talked about was gift giving. However, we did not talk about if there are ours kids. So I just want to say briefly, if there are ours kids, you have to look at it from the perspective of the ours kid only gets one Christmas. Mm-hmm. The step kids usually get two.
Yeah, the ours kids, like, I want to be in the blended family.
Yep. So we did not address that in this podcast. We will address that in a future podcast, not next week, but maybe the next. Anyway, we hope everyone in the U.S. had a good Thanksgiving. And that's all we're going to say because we're about to cough.
All right, then let's get to listening.
Today we have Laura Petherbridge, the one, the only smart stepmom. Hey, Laura, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you. And people can't see us, but I can see your lovely face. And it makes me happy.
Same here, sister.
I've missed you. We haven't talked in a while.
I know. You live too far away. You got to get closer to me.
I know. Today, I wanted to talk about self-care because this is after Thanksgiving. You're in between holidays and the stress of kids going here, kids going there, schedules, all that stuff. But I'm sitting here and I wanted to say, even talking to your friends is self-care because talking to you does my heart good. And when we have our little group chats with the other stepmom coaches, it makes me happy.
I understand. It makes me happy too.
So self-care, that could be considered self-care. There's many different approaches to self-care.
Yep.
So here we are between the Turkey Day in the U.S. and Christmas, one of the most stressful times of the year for step families.
It is.
Why do you think that is, Mrs. Petherbridge?
Well, just the mere logistics. Like, we could go to the basics here. I grew up in a big Italian family, and everybody expected you to be at their house. So if I didn't go to my grandmother's house, my Nana's house on Christmas Eve, it was like I had committed, a murder. And so, those days are not as strong in our current society because people are so transient. They don't live near family as much as they did when I was a kid. But just the fact of needing to go to numerous homes like I had to, because my parents were divorced. They divorced when I was 8 years old. So I not only had my Nana wanting me at her house on Christmas Eve, but then it was the pull between my mom's house, my aunt's house, my other grandma's house. And if I had a boyfriend or after I became engaged or whatever, then his whole family was there. Yeah. So
it's a hot mess.
A lot of places to be at one time.
And you have to eat 5 times in 2 days, these huge meals.
Well, at my Nana's house, that was a good thing.
I wonder if step families gain more weight during the holidays because they have more events to attend.
That's a really good point. I never thought of it, but that's a good point.
Now, something that I want to talk about is with David. One thing that his ex did, which always helped us, they celebrated either the day after Thanksgiving or that Saturday after Thanksgiving. So there was never a rush of hurry up and eat. We've got to take you to your mom's. On the other hand, with my son, it was hurry up. We got to meet your dad. And that can cause so much stress.
It can.
Sometimes you can celebrate on a different day just to lower your stress.
Yep. I highly recommend that.
And you can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to be able to come at the same time. Usually it is date set. Mama has Christmas morning breakfast. But when Jackson and Kennedy get married and they have kids, that's not going to be my path because I will want to go see my grandkids.
Yep.
So it causes a split too.
It does. And you really have to tread gently with that because it's if you're a people pleaser in particular, where you're afraid people are going to be mad at you or afraid of upsetting someone, it can really get ugly and get confusing. And this is why one of the pieces of advice that I give to parents, especially when the kids are between two homes, is talk about this early. Don't wait until December 21st to start discussing the calendar.
Right.
And unfortunately, men are notorious for doing that. I'm sorry, we don't have David here to chastise me right now for saying this.
He will later.
David, you know I love you, David. But I think guys just so much want peace. They don't want the conflict that they think if they wait, that somehow that's going to make it better. But actually, it creates more stress. And it creates more stress for the kids, too. Kids do not like not knowing, am I going to be at my mother's for Christmas Eve? Am I going to be at my father's for Christmas Eve? What house am I going to wake up on Christmas morning?
Right.
And so I can't encourage people enough to make sure you're talking with the other home, communicating with the other home about the schedule, the calendar, who's going to be where what. Now, some people have it written in their divorce decree if they have a legal document. If there's a divorce, they have a legal document that often tells them the answer to that. But many people today, they live together, they split up, and they didn't get any legal documentation. And so they're really just flying by the seat of their pants as to who's going to get what which day.
Right. And I know, too, I think it's good to have it in black and white. Don't argue about it.
Yes.
If you have a high conflict ex, don't give and take. Follow the order. Don't make plans when you're supposed to have your kids, where you have to ask them to keep the kids. Your kids come first. Follow the court order.
Yep.
It reduces so much conflict. But people are probably thinking, how is this self-care? Self-care is ways to lower stress, right? So this is kind of pre-self-care.
Yes.
You're getting the kids, the crap situated with the kids early and informing them of what's going to happen.
Yeah. So everybody knows the schedule and the agenda. Right. And if you and your ex don't communicate well, this is a perfect time to install one of the apps, fortunately now.
Like our Family Wizard.
Yeah, one of the things technology has done is given us these great apps where we don't even have to talk to each other.
Right. And our Family Wizard, we had a podcast with them, I think 3 or 4 podcasts ago, and it was really good.
Yes, it's an excellent resource.
Yes. So when we do get stressed, believe it or not, people, you can calm yourself down. You don't have to let the fact that the turkey got burnt or the macaroni and cheese is soupy or that the stepkid's going to have to interrupt your family get together. You have control over letting those things affect you. You can get aggravated, or you can look at it as it's something I can't change and I'm not going to let anything steal my joy.
That's right.
And I believe 100% part of getting to that point is putting yourself first in many situations. Take the extra long shower. I was in the shower this morning and it felt so good just standing there. And I was like, I am so thankful for the water, the hot water, the tankless water heater so I can stand here extra long. Then I was like, I'm thankful for towels. But it made me feel cared for when I thought about those things. And I think it's so important during these times where things are on such a high stress level to take care of yourself. Take 10 minutes and just chill. It's okay if those dishes sit there for an extra minute. And if your partner doesn't want to help with the dishes, fine. Throw them in the trash. I'm kidding. Don't throw his mama's china in the trash. But deal with things, and I say this all the time, deal with things on the proper emotional level. Yes, it's frustrating. You're tired because your partner never helps you do anything. You're always the one carrying the weight. Well, that's not going to change today. So you do what you need to do and then try to figure out a way to get those things to change.
Yes. Just today, I had to tell one of my clients, you've got to lower your expectation
Amen.
of what your stepkids are going to do, because they've already revealed to you this is not a priority for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you feeling sad and rejected and angry and resentful is not going to cause them to change their priorities.
Right.
And so if that's what they're choosing, stop allowing it to make you crazy and depressed and frustrated and angry and resentful. Go be around people who enjoy your company.
Right.
And let go of the expectation that it's going to be your stepkids, if that's your scenario.
Yeah, if that's your struggle. We actually have a 14-day expectations challenge in the academy. And I created that because I needed it.
Yeah.
I realized that my expectations were too high of people, and that was not fair of me to put those expectations on them because I'm expecting them to be somebody they're not.
Yes.
And we have to quit trying to change people. Either you love people for who they are, including their differences, and you, as long as it's not they beat you or, all that stuff. I don't know why we have to add that, but we do.
Yep.
But if you can where was I going, Laura? I got sidetracked with the beating people.
Yeah. You got a visual from that.
I did.
One of the things that I had to lower my expectations about, and it's going to sound really stupid and trivial, but it was a big deal for me. When, I mentioned my Nana cooked for weeks before Christmas. I mean, this was her big display. This was, all the relatives would come. They loved all of her foods, all of these traditional cookies and meats and all this stuff. She would cook for weeks. And so when I married my husband and his two sons became my stepsons, I was excited. Oh, I'm going to share all this food, this tradition. I'm going to make these foods that my Nana made that mean so much to me. I'm going to make these foods and it's going to show them how much I love them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want one morsel of it.
Nothing.
None of it. Why? Because it wasn't their tradition.
Right.
And I took that as a personal, you don't want to participate in my Christmas. And
not just that. You hate me.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never love me. It's always going to be this way.
Yep.
You're going to be here when you're 35 years old and still hate me. You're playing games in your underwear on my couch.
Yeah.
That's where we go. It spirals.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I had to finally get it that, you know what? If they never wanted one of my cuccidadis or cannolis or any other Italian food that I was making, if they didn't like it, they didn't want it. So what? They already had, but see, that was my way of expressing love because it was my Nana's way of expressing love. And I automatically assumed that I would pass that on to them. They had absolutely no interest in that. They had their own family traditions and their own foods that they had gotten used to for the holidays. And they could just care less about what Laura wanted for the holidays. And so I had to get over myself and say, Laura, this isn't about you. Mm-hmm. Let it go. Leave it alone.
Yes.
And guess what? Eventually, when my nieces grew up, they loved all that Italian stuff because they got that from my brother's house. And so now I can make it for them, but I had to let go of all that.
It's funny that, first of all, what's a coochie daddy?
A Coochie Daddy is it's a cookie. It's a Christmas cookie that has figs in it.
Okay. I know what a cannoli is.
Yeah, okay.
But I have to tell you, I had a cannoli for the first time last year sometime at this restaurant we go to that I love.
First time?
Yeah. Just, if there's an eclair, I'm getting that. I know what that tastes like, and it's sugar heaven.
Yeah.
And I asked him if the cannoli was sweet, and he said yes.
No.
There wasn't nothing sweet in that thing.
No, cannolis are not supposed to be sweet.
Well, I didn't know that because they serve them in the same areas that they serve sweet things.
Right.
And I never knew that, but I'll never get another cannoli again.
I mean, you are supposed to put confectioner sugar in it.
Oh, no, it needs like the white sugar cream in it for me to eat it.
Yeah, no. Coochie Daddies and...
That just sounds horrible, Laura.
Oh, you should have seen the squid that was in her kitchen sink on a Friday for Christmas Eve. Now, I don't get into any of that. I don't make any of that octopus squid stuff.
Oh, that's nasty.
All of that. I don't make any of that because I don't like it.
Yeah. You still here?
Yep.
Hang on. Sorry.
That's okay.
And the thing about it, too, is if you have all these expectations in your head, Christmas is great. All the kids are running around the house, kissing each other and hugging each other. It's a Hallmark show in your living room. The only thing missing is the cameras. Why you do that to yourself? Yes. You know that's not what's going to happen unless you take some drugs and tripping on acid or something. That's the only way that's going to happen.
Yep.
I kid because when we get together, we have fun. There are stressful times that we still go through. Thankfully, I know how to nacho. And I learned how to lower my expectations, which honestly is an everyday thing. Because every day somebody's going to disappoint you because you have expectations. The saying is expectations is the root of all resentment or the cause of resentment, something like that.
Yep.
And it's true. So put expectations on yourself to take better care of yourself. I, Lori, expect myself to spend at least 30 minutes a week doing something that I want to do. If not 30 minutes a day, if you can do it. Whether that's painting my granny ceramics, whether that's sitting on the front porch listening to the birds, reading a book, whatever. You need that time to decompress and be you.
Yes. And we've become so busy as a society that we never take any time in solitude or quiet or just to give our brains a rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean no scrolling on Facebook or any of it. I mean just letting our mind, our brain, our bodies relax for 30 minutes. Now, I know some people are saying if I do that, I'll fall asleep.
Yeah.
But,
you may need to fall asleep.
Yep. It's something that we've lost in our culture. And I really believe that it's affecting our emotional state because we do need rest for our brain.
Yeah. And we're all on high speed.
Yes.
There's 25 million billboards we see a day or advertisements, which I know I'm exaggerating, but somebody did a study, quote, and it said that you see so many advertisements a day. And I couldn't believe it was that high. But then I started paying attention. It's everywhere. I'm looking at my computer. There's a name of something. That's an advertisement. Go down the interstate, 50 billboards. My favorite one is be happy, get divorced. For a divorce attorney.
Gosh.
You know he gets flooded with people. You know he does.
Yeah.
But we've got to stop things sometimes and just breathe because it's overwhelming.
And one of the things that in my years of doing this with step families, a theme that just keeps coming back over and over and over again is that one side of the family, I work mostly with stepmoms, so I'm going to say this would maybe be either dad's parents, the husband's parents, or his sister, and they don't buy the same gifts for their biological grandkids or biological nieces and nephews as they do the stepkids. Mm-hmm. So they buy the biological kids in the family, a new iPhone, and the stepkid gets a T-shirt.
And that's crap.
It's really bad. I mean, that is really bad. And
That's
the
crap.
only person that can fix that is the biological parent.
Right.
If the
And
step parent tries to go in and fight with their in-law about that, that will blow up in your face every time.
well, David and I talked about this because we don't expect, we're all about Nacho. David's parents are not Jackson's grandparents, blood related. So we don't expect them to spend as much on Jackson as they do their own grandkids. Now, my mom and dad, they were both living on Social Security, I think, at some point that we've had the kids. And is it fair to add 4 more kids and expect them to take the $100 that they were giving Jackson and either divide it 5 ways or go over and go in debt trying to pay $100 to each kid?
Yeah, and that is a real problem. I don't disagree with that.
And so what David and I said, and we told his parents, and I told my parents, if you just want to continue giving Jackson what you give him, that's fine. I'll give you the money to do the same thing for the stepkids.
Yes.
Or if you only want to give them $20, I don't want Jackson to go, oh, well, now that I've got brothers, they're splitting it up.
Yeah.
To make things quote, quote, fair.
Yes.
And, okay. Now I'm going to say this though. If you can't make it fair, don't do it in front of the kid.
Yes.
Because when you do
it might be grandparents or an aunt and uncle that live on the other side of the country and they don't ever see the step grandkids.
Right.
Like maybe the child goes to their house for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we expect, that parent or that grandparent to send the child back home with presents for their step siblings or half siblings.
Right.
I'm talking about like on Christmas Day,
yes,
when everybody's opening the presents together.
Yes, Santa came, and guess what? Little tiny Tim is left to the side. Yeah.
Yeah. And, my brother got remarried and married a woman that had 2 children, and he had 2 children. So I became the aunt, the step aunt for the 2 of them. And we always did Christmas at my house, and everybody opened presents. Well, I wasn't going to let her 2 children think that Aunt Laura only likes, the 2, I would never have hurt them like that.
Right.
Because it is very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to make it as even as possible with the Christmas presents. But that's because they all came together to my house.
Now, my grandmother, she didn't give 2 craps about whether or not I got offended because she loved my older sister. I am not kidding you. This is back in the day. I'm not going to tell you a date because you'll figure out how old I am. But back in the day, my sister would have 20 presents and I'd have 2.
Yep.
I'm not kidding.
Yep.
And then my little sister.
Remember that.
Yes. And see, that tells you something about it.
Yes.
And then my little sister would have like 5.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't know the value.
Yes.
What she gave me. Did she spend as much money on me as she did my sister? It didn't look like it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, but she loved her and it was obvious, and hated me, and that was obvious. But that's okay. We'll talk about that another day. I need therapy. That hickory switch still rings in my butt. But I say all this and you say all this don't be mean to these kids. Don't let them feel less than. If you want to get little Susie an iPhone and you can't do the same for your stepkids and they're all going to be there Christmas morning, then don't give them that phone that day. Wait until the stepkids aren't there. But now I will tell you that recently we talked to Branson and Ethan here on the podcast.
Okay.
And that came up. And I said, well, I wouldn't give Jackson stuff when y'all were here because that wasn't fair, right? And they said, but as soon as we came back, Jackson's like, hey, look what my mom got me last week.
Oh.
So it reminded them, or, they found out about it. And I said, okay, but would y'all have wanted me to treat you like my own, meaning parenting you, disciplining you? They said, no. I said, but you wanted that part of it.
Yeah. Yep.
I said, but your mom was taking y'all to Florida and Jackson got a toy truck for $10. He's like, that didn't matter. So in their mind, you're it's got to be even across every field.
Yes.
Even when they're not there.
Yes. And
But
sometimes that's not possible.
Right. And it's not fair to your hours kid, or like Jackson we had all the time.
Yep.
Because, well, we can't take you to Florida until we have all the brothers. Or because we won't have the brothers then. And it doesn't coincide with your dad's schedule. And we're not going to ask your dad to switch because, woo-hoo. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it is. You try to do the best you can not to show favoritism. And
blatantly.
Yes. And I think it's even harder when it's grandma and grandpa doing it and they're doing it really obviously. Mm-hmm. That's I guess the part that's really hard.
Yes.
Is when they're showing your spouse's kids, you really don't belong here.
Right.
You're not inside the circle.
Right.
And there were times when I took my nieces on the weekend and kept them at my house and didn't keep my step nieces because they went and visited their dad. Mm-hmm. So I tried to do it on a weekend when they were off visiting their father, where my nieces didn't go and stay with their mother. So I had them come and stay at my house.
Right.
And, I never wanted the others to feel like they were being ostracized, but sometimes I always say you got to remove the word fair from step families because fair and equal are not the same thing.
It's not even in nuclear families when you break it down.
Yes, you're right.
But people don't see that.
Right.
Yeah. Because in nuclear families, everybody's different. With David's kids, he had to punish them differently for it to be effective.
Yes.
One, he could tell him he couldn't use the computer. He didn't care. One, you could tell him he couldn't play with his toys, dinosaur, or whatever. That broke his heart. One, you could tell him, oh, you can't go to Mama's today. That would, be the end of the world. Each one was different.
Yes.
And even, I joke about this, Laura, and I know it might be a little out there, but I joke about, okay, well, little Susie needs tampons. Mm-hmm. Let me go buy little Johnny some too, so he feels like he's getting something. But sometimes that's how you feel. Or one kid needs shoes, and then the other 3 or 4 are like, well, why don't I get new shoes? Well, yours aren't worn out. But they don't see it that way. Any chance they have to see of being treated less than, they take it.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to explain better to these kids what's going on. And David did tell his kids, look, Lori gets child support. I don't get child support for y'all. And your mom does a lot for y'all at Christmas. And Jackson's dad doesn't do as much for Christmas. So Jackson will have a little bit more than y'all at Christmas because of that. And, he told them they might not have liked it, but then they still understood why, or had a better chance of understanding why. Yes. It's not personal. And of course, Jackson's stuff was cheaper.
Right.
But it always looked like he had more.
Right.
Right.
But you see, that came from David, their father.
Right.
Not you, their stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a key point that so many, in particular, stepmoms miss.
Yep.
They think it's their job to point this out to their stepchildren and see it doesn't work when it's coming from the step parent. The biological parent needs to be the one, like David did, to explain to his kids. Now, they still may not agree with it, and they might not like it, but at least it's coming from their own biological parent.
Right.
And there is more of a bond, more of a connection, more of a trust factor.
More grace.
With the biological parent.
And more grace.
Yeah, absolutely more grace.
100%.
Yep.
And I know that we've talked about it's the bio parent's job to also set those boundaries, or not necessarily set those boundaries, sorry. It's also the bio parent's job to talk to their parents about the gift giving.
Yes.
And, talk about it. Offer to help them. And if you can't help them and they can only do $20, which is $5 per kid, then that's what needs to be done.
Yes.
And if they want to go put $15 in a savings account for the other kid, because they normally gave them 20, then they can do that when they get the money or something. I don't know how to fix it, but completely for everybody. But I just think that it's not right to put a strain on the grandparents financially.
Yes.
A lot of them are not living or not getting income above what their bills are.
Yep.
They're going in debt each month. The cost of medicine's rising, all that stuff. So it's not always about you or about your kid. It's about they don't know what to do either. The step parents like, well, do I take this $20 and give them all $4?
Yeah.
Or do we, put $100 on our credit card? No, mama and papa, don't do that.
Yeah.
Figure out another way. Do a come hang out with mama and papa all weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. Something like that. There's other things that you can do to lower your stress and all this.
Yes.
And lowering your stress is 100% self-care.
Yep, it certainly is. And whatever you've got to do to get your thinking to a place of where you can just rest and have peace. And it's not my job to fix everybody else's issues and emotions, and it's when I learned that, Lori, that it's not my job. It's not my job to fix everybody.
Right.
That was self-care for sure. And a lot of people think once the kids turn 18, oh, thank heavens, we won't have this anymore once the kids turn 18. That is the most ridiculous thought pattern. Yes, you won't have them bouncing from house to house with a court order anymore, but that doesn't mean that the stepfamily issues just magically melt away just because the child turns 18.
And nowadays, people don't make enough money at 18 to move out.
Yes, absolutely. Or they're so isolated. COVID, there's now statistics showing us that COVID has done a huge, huge effect on the brains, especially of young men.
Oh, Lord, that's the last thing we needed, ladies.
Yes.
Men, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yes, because
I'm not saying it. It's Laura Petherbridge. Unfollow her, not me.
It isolated them, and they cocooned into their bedroom with their video games, and they're really struggling with social skills. It's a big, serious problem. I realized that was a rabbit trail. I apologize.
That's okay. I do it all the time.
It's big.
It is. It is. Which brings up something completely out of topic, but I'm going to say it anyway. Pay attention to your kids. Talk to them about stuff. Find out about what's going on with kids in the world. There is a lot of sextortion going on with kids nowadays. Let's say that I know a few people personally that this has happened to, or their children. And basically pictures are exchanged. Then all of a sudden the person on the other end says, if you don't give me $600, I'm sending these pictures to all your friends and family. And this person has to come up with the money, or they risk, quote, quote, this person doing that. And unfortunately, some kids don't have the money or the means to get the money and end up committing suicide. So
it's really sad.
And it's not just teenagers. It's from the age of 10 to 80.
Yep.
That people are being victimized by this. So spread the word. Look up Brian Guffey or Gavin Guffey and read about their story, because it'll make you go talk to your kid.
Yep.
And understand that we don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. And Christmas time is a time where we get nostalgic anyway. Mm-hmm. We get, it's very easy to sink into a depression around the holiday time. And you don't have to be having a big catastrophe or, it doesn't need to be something catastrophic happening to cause you to feel sad all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. It can just be a memory of something or a music. I know there's a certain song that when I'm in the store shopping and this particular song comes on, it reminds me of something from my 20s, and it just takes me right back there, and I instantly become kind of sad.
Yeah.
And I have to talk myself out of that. I have to go, okay, that's enough. Don't linger there. I have to change my thoughts. I have to say a little prayer.
Or you're going to be crying in the fetal position behind the meat.
Yeah. They'll find me back in the meat cooler.
Cried. You stopped loving me today.
Yeah. And because I've moved away from my hometown, when I'll be home for Christmas, that can make me a little bit sad because I'm not back in my hometown.
Mhm.
I'm not with all my family and the familiar of back home. And so am I sad? Am I depressed? No. It's just that triggered a nostalgia, and sights and music and smells can trigger us to have a moment of discouragement or depression or nostalgia. And we
Yep.
have to be careful not to let that take us down into a rabbit hole.
Right. That's why I have on my phone a folder for sad music, a folder for happy music, and a folder for get out of the way. If I play this, I'm going to start dancing.
Yeah.
There are some songs that, like you said, they can bring you down.
Yep.
But there's some that can lift you up. I got my first speeding ticket because of a song on the radio.
Oh.
But I'm blaming it on the song.
Yeah,
the song made me get all hyper and happy, and I pressed my foot a little too hard.
Okay.
Yep, that's what happened. And
that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
But I think it's important too, to know what you're putting into your brain and your mind.
Yeah.
If you are always listening to sad songs, or always on a Facebook page where a stepmom's complaining.
Yes.
Or always just hanging out with people that are negative Nellies, it's going to bring you down. Go watch YouTube videos that make you laugh. I think that's why they say laughter is the best medicine, because it takes that crap and pushes it away.
Yes. Yeah, there's actually endorphins that it lets off in the brain. There's chemicals that when you laugh, it's released in the brain. And if you got to watch something funny on television or on YouTube, or I just posted this week of these two old men that are dancing. I forget their names. They're twin brothers, but they're old. And they are dancing to, like, I don't know if it was Justin Bieber or who it was, but it was hilarious. And I mean, you can't help but watch that and laugh. So yes, whatever it takes.
Yeah. So we tell y'all all this not to tell you that you can't have feelings. It's important to recognize your feelings. We're not saying sweep them under the rug. Express them. Set a timer for 2 minutes. You know what? Set it for 5. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Be angry. Be sad. Be whatever. Within a minute and a half, you're going to be like, that was a long time. But yet you will let that one thing make you mad for 2 weeks. Get it all out, 5 minutes. Figure out how you can address it, if it needs to be addressed, or if it was just your emotions taking over. And that will help.
And Laura, you and I talk all the time about the value of having stepmom sisters. I would not be here if it were not for, I wouldn't still be married for sure. 39 years. We're getting ready in a couple of weeks. We'll be celebrating 39 years of being a stepmom.
Wow.
And I would have never made it that long if I did not have good stepmom sisters that I could call when the bottom falls out, when I've been rejected, when I've been emotionally stabbed, when I've been deeply, deeply hurt by something said or done, where I just have a sister who gets it and can talk me off the ledge, can remind me who I am, that I am not who somebody else says I am, and that my value is not in that one person and what they think or don't think of me.
Right.
And I think women are not connecting today. They're doing it on social media, but that is not going to meet this need.
No, you need hugs.
You need women. Women need other women. Yep. And even if you only see each other occasionally, there's something, we were created for community. And this isolating and not being around other women is really affecting us. And so I just led a retreat a couple of weeks ago. And when I watched these stepmoms cling to each other, it was just, you could see the power in that.
Yeah.
And so, Lori, you and I are talking about maybe doing an event sometime in 2025.
In
if we
June.
end up doing that, yeah, we're looking at June. If we end up doing that, boy, oh boy, you ladies better come because you need it.
Yep. And even the people that I have gotten close to that aren't anywhere near me.
Yep.
Being able to see you in person.
Yes.
Makes a different connection.
It does.
Yes.
Yep. A computer screen cannot give me what I need when I sit down with you.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So part of your self-care is staying close to those friends.
Yes, it is.
Find friends that make you laugh.
Yep.
Find friends that tell you the truth no matter what. And find friends that will have your back regardless if you're wrong.
Yes. That's one of the first things I realized about you, Lori, is that when we met and we just started getting close, and I remember telling somebody else, that woman has my back. That woman will defend me to the death.
Yep. 100%.
Yep. And that's when you know you got a good friend.
Yep. Somebody mess with Laura, I'll beat you up. I got a little bit of redneck in me. I am from South Carolina.
And I'm from New York, so we're friends.
Oh, yeah. Y'all better watch out. We're going to be swinging bats and knives and nunchucks.
I love it.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for doing this podcast with us.
I just am thrilled. I love being here. I love ministering to the people that come and listen to you. And by the way, for Christmas, I've created an Advent calendar devotional.
Does it come with candy? Because I love candy Advents.
No, there's no candy. Okay. It doesn't come with treats.
But you can put treats with it.
There's emotional treats.
There you go.
So anyway, Lori's link will have that, and you can just click right on it, put in your email address, and it'll automatically send it to you 30 days for free. How to survive Christmas.
Awesome. I'm going to sign up myself.
Yep, I hope you do. That's
all right.
Encouraging. There's a prayer each day too. So for those that need some prayer suggestions on how to pray during the holidays, it's in there.
Yep. All right. Thank you again. And people can find you at laurapetherbridge.com
or the smartstepmom.com.
That's right, because you are the smart stepmom.
I am.
And you have 39 years of wisdom.
I do. And step family years are like dog years. So that's really like 620 years.
Yeah, that's what David and I say. 1 year is 10 blended family years. That's why my gray came out so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
I'm not kidding. It aged me.
Yep.
It did.
I get it.
These youngins aged me, folks. Not trying to scare you.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can join the Nacho Kids Academy today. And when you turn my age, you will look good because you know how to nacho. You won't have these 11s from your forehead all scrunched up. Now all I need is a plastic surgeon ad at the end of this.
There's got to be a stepmom plastic surgeon somewhere.
Yeah, that's what we should find. That would give stepmoms a discount.
Yeah.
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 All right, Laura, we will have you back because I love talking to you and I love seeing your face.
I love you, sister.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. David sounds like he's a frog, so.
Oh, you don't like my new nasally deep voice?
No, I don't. And we're not going to subject our listeners to it.
Yeah, let's don't.
So with that being said, we will talk to y'all soon. Have a great week. And until next time,
life is good.
When you nacho.